I'm back with another story. This time it's about my living situation. I'm prioritizing the light to see the trees. But yeah, let's get right into my living situation. Also, if you hear any like really loud noises, they're doing construction downstairs, so don't mind that. Yeah, let's get into it. So I moved to Hamilton, Ontario, September 2019, after deciding to move here in June 2019 because there was a BTS concert and a friend and I came here, and I think near the end of our trip, I literally looked at her and I was like, I'm moving here. And this is the first time ever coming to Ontario, and I decided, as I was literally looking out at a view, and I was just like, I'm moving here because I really wanted a change. I was so traumatized, I was so depressed to the fact that if I didn't create any kind of change for myself, I would have, yeah. So I'm really happy I did that. Being who I am, impulsive, especially back then, I really acted on impulse with a lot of things, and a lot of things that had to do with my finances too. And you know, growing up, I didn't have like financial literacy, so you know, if I had money and I wanted something, I went to get it. And with this, it was the move, and you know, my intention was to save during those months that I was deciding to move, and I didn't, because I wanted to spend time with everyone, so I didn't want to just work. So yeah, I wanted to just spend time with everyone before I left. And then so when I decided to move, I talked about it with my friends who we were staying with, and then they were like, move in with us. And I was like, okay, well, sure, if you're already offering, and you know, like, I'm so down. And these people were my family friends, like our dads used to be close and all that. So I was like, yeah, I'm so down, thank you so much for even offering. Like, I was just hoping to get some support of the fact that I wanted to move here, but just to have you say that is really amazing. So you know, I had them in mind and everything. Come September, like, I'm really happy they gave me one of the bigger rooms and all, but like, I just didn't have help like just settling in, anything like that. Anytime I actually got to work, and that room that I was in was haunted because when I finally got to sleep in there, I got sleep paralysis every night. But anyways, I stayed there for only a month because, oh man, the people I stayed with, they were very controlling, very, very controlling. Like, and I felt so isolated because I got so excited to move to this new city, and I didn't really get to spend quality time with them. They weren't really about that. They were very closed off, and I didn't expect that because, you know, hanging out with them in June, I was having so much fun with them. And it wasn't even about like the partying or anything that, like, I just wanted to spend time. And it was always based on like one person's like mood every day, and it was just kind of annoying. But yeah, like, I would have help from like their cousin to paint my room, to settle in, to like all this and that. Like, the people I lived with, I did not feel homey at all. And I was just like, you guys are my family friends. Okay, sure. And then, so because I wasn't feeling like homey at home, I started feeling more community with the workplace, because I was so grateful, honestly, to get a job right when I moved here, like first day. So I was very happy about that. And so with them, I worked with their cousin, and you know, like, it was a really cute place at the time because it was very familial. Like, all the servers like to hang out. Servers like to hang out with each other, but that's a whole other thing. But what's it called? I started hanging out with my work friends then, right? Because they were like, you know what, you're new. Let's hang out. Let's go do this and that. And I was like, oh, thanks. Sure, I'm about it. But one person in the group that I was hanging out with, the person I lived with, they had drama with him. And I'm really not gonna get into it because it was so played out for so long for no reason. It's just because no one was being truthful, and anyways, it was just annoying. But anyways, I became friends with him because I worked with him. I see him all the time. You know what? He wanted to hang out with me more than like the people I lived with wanted to hang out with me, so why not, right? And then the thing is, I already knew backstory about him, so I already knew to be cautious. But the thing is, like, what should I even call them? I hate calling them like the people I used to live with. I'm gonna call them Group A. Group A, like, they were so controlling to the point where they didn't want me hanging out with him at all. And I understood, okay, if you didn't want me hanging out with him because he's a bad guy, I understand that. But if, you know, I moved to the new city, this and that, blah, 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 he's asking me to hang out as a group more than you guys are hanging out, asking me to hang out individually, I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna make new friends. And they did not like that. They did not like that. They sat me down one night even and was just like, you know the situation with us, and if you're gonna just go do that, you don't need to be here and all that stuff. Like, we're doing a really nice thing for you living with us. Like, we're letting you into our home, we're letting you use our car, we're letting you da, 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 da. And the least you can do is not be friends with this guy. And I was like, I work with him though, and I work full-time, and he works full-time, and he actually was not harming me. Like, I understand that there was some hurt and stuff, but I also understand there was no one telling the actual truth about anything. And this is why it caused so many issues, and this is why everything was so played out. And literally I was so disposable to them. Like, there's this one night they were about to go to Japan, and this is the night before, and I went to Shisha hanging out with like this new crew, right? And like, mind you, I didn't know she wanted me to spend time with her because she never communicated anything with me. Anything. Like, this Group A expected you to know everything. Like, they assumed you knew how they felt, they assumed you knew what they were doing that day, they assumed this and that, and then when you didn't know and they expected you to know, they'd get annoyed about it. And like, they were the type of people that like needed you around 24/7 to validate like their friendship, and it was very annoying because I was like, how am I supposed to make new friends in a new city? You guys just want me to be stuck with you, but all you guys do is stay on your couch. I'm a very social, active person. You just wanted me to just be at home, and then that was the only way for me to be friends with you, is for me to be attached to you. Like, no thank you. So yeah, I didn't know she wanted me to hang out with her. So then I went to Shisha with the crew, and I get a call from, Group A, and they're literally like, we've already talked to you about this. We can't believe you're hanging out with him again. We're kicking you out. And I was literally like, wow. I moved here September. They kicked me out October. And I was literally like, okay. So that night I found out, or that night I literally, and it was during a phase, I was still partying, so I got fucking hammered, I got annoyed, and I literally was just like, fuck this. I literally was like, they didn't give me like 3 months. They gave me a month, and I was like, I just moved to a new city. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Blah, blah, blah. Like, and then with how close their cousin and I were getting, he was very like, you know what, stay with me for now, like, and we'll just see how things go. And I was like, you know what, I'm so down, thank you so much for your offer. At the time he lived in a 1-bedroom apartment though, but you know what, a couch was better than nothing. So I was like, I'm down. I moved out. I started to move out like while they were gone, but because I wanted to make sure by the time they were gone, I was gone, because they kicked me out. What the fuck? So yeah, and then as I was transitioning to his place, they called me while they were in Japan. They were like, so we kicked you out, but you're still using our car. And I was like, the car you guys like basically sold to, like, in the process of selling to me? Yeah, I am using that car. And then, but because I was so over their attitude and they're like, nyeh, 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 that I was like, okay, fuck, I'm gonna drop off that stupid car too. And then, yeah, so then I was carless, homeless, basically. Basically, yeah. So then I was able to finance a car in December. It took a long process because like Ontario's rules about driving is different than Alberta's, and I didn't know that about licenses. But anyways, yeah, so there it was a process about that, and it was my first time financing a car in general, so that took a little bit. And then um yeah, so I stayed with him for a bit. I stayed with him for a bit. And it was nice because it was a different area of the cities. It was downtown, so I got to explore that. However, I really tried to make my situation work no matter what because of like my circumstance. But that apartment itself, like, had cockroaches, and it was intense. Like, it was just annoying to have to deal with, and especially if you're sleeping on a couch, like, honestly, like coming home to seeing cockroaches on like my blanket and stuff like that, it was hard. And then slowly, he and I started getting really close, and like more and more and things and that, and I was like, oh my god, like, he's my first bestie that I made here. Like, I'm so happy, I'm so grateful, he's so nice. And then his trauma started to show. And it showed through his drinking, it showed through his partying. He partied so much, and I'm really not like going about that, you do you. But there was a point where I actually wanted to start changing my life because I remembered why I moved here. And it was when during the pandemic. So when the pandemic first struck, I think when we got hit in April and everything, like the first 2 months of it, like, my friends and I were like, oh, you know what? Okay, let's just Skype all at home, drink, and then all this. And so I was still drinking, I was still partying. But then about like May, June, I was like, okay, I want to slow down on the drinking, on this and that. Like, I moved here because all I did back in Calgary was party, It's because I was so traumatized, I didn't want to deal with my like life. So all I looked forward to was just instant gratification in getting fucked up. And it was just, anyways. So during that pandemic, I reminded myself, I was like, okay, this is exactly why I moved here. Let's go back to that. So then, my ex at the time, when I first met him, like, we were trying to do this together. So I was like, okay, at least I have someone to do this with, like getting out of the partying scene, blah, blah. And the roommate really was not like supportive about that. And the group of friends I had at the time weren't supportive about that. So then, because like all we knew together was partying, like that's all we could have a common ground about. If we weren't drinking, we probably didn't have anything else to say. So yeah, I didn't like that. I don't like empty relationships. So I really wanted to work on that. So I did. And when I started to pull back my energy, I really noticed how much I was being taken advantage of with him too, emotionally and all that. Because, during times of like his drinking and stuff, when everyone goes home, I had to deal with it. And it was very, very hard, especially when it was almost like every weekend. And sometimes it would even be more frequent than a weekend. And then it got to the point where like I would come home and there would be people drinking where I was sleeping, like being really careless about it. And I'm a little bit of a like hygiene freak, just a little bit. So it was really annoying to see like their feet on my pillow and like stuff like that. And I was just like, holy fuck, I'm being disrespected. Like, I don't even like, and he kept telling me, yeah, we're gonna move out together. Like after about like the 4th month and everything, he was like, yeah, we'll move out together. Cause I was just like, I think I'm ready to go. And he's like, no, we'll do it together. And then it kept being put off because he kept saying it. But then he kept telling like our friends that he didn't want to move out, because it, like, the place we were at, it was his first home. And I understood that. I truly understood that. So that's why I was like, let me go alone then. But he was so adamant. And then he was telling everyone no. And then when I found out he was telling everyone no, 7 months after sleeping on that couch, I was just like, okay, I'm a dip. I'm gonna go. Oh my God, I'm not here to be like your emotional dumping like every night, only for you to just lie to me like that. Like, yeah, it was just really annoying. And then, so then my friends and I, we went away to like a little cottage and stuff, and that was the first time I was away from him. And I was just like, yo, and they were being supportive about the move too, and I was like, you know what, yeah, I'm just gonna go out on my own. And there was a friend of mine who I worked with. She went to university, and then she's just like, you know, there's an extra room at my student house. You want to check it out? And then so I came back from that cottage trip, and I went to check out that place right away, student house. And I've never been in a student house ever before, and I never experienced, I didn't even know it was a thing. I actually didn't. Like, because I didn't go to university back home, so I was just like, oh my God, this life is whoa. So I was like, whoa, another experience, you know? And oh, I do want to mention what I've gained every time. So when I first left my first house, group A, I did lose who I thought were my family, but I gained a sense of self-worth, because I was like, first of all, I'm not being treated like that. Second of all, I gained a sense of like confidence in myself, that I'm able to bounce back from a sad situation like that and just turn it into something else. And every time I moved, I was so grateful to transmute like that. Like, even though that situation was so shitty and it could have really taken me down, why would I want it to take me down? So then, so then when I left this place, coming back from cottage, and after seeing that place, I went home to him, and I literally looked at him and I was just like, I'm moving out. And he's like, I actually saw this coming. And I was like, go figure. So then I started moving out right away. I actually started moving out the next day. And it wasn't even really moving out. It's because that room that she had, because the landlord was so down, he was about it. And I was like, oh my God, like, I love that. So went there, and the room itself just needed to be redone, so I wanted to work on that like right away. Like, it had to be repainted, had to do all that, because it was like completely empty. So I was excited. I was like, wow, this is gonna be my first time really having like my own room, because even back in Calgary, I lived with an ex there. So, and then if I wasn't that, it was like during like while I was staying with family, and yeah, I had my own room during that. But you know, when it's like your own room during your family house, it's not really like, you know. So I was so excited to like make my own room for once. So I was like, wow, all that. And you know, my old roommate, like group B came to help me too. But you know what struck me really, really off, and when I knew it was time to let go? So during one of my painting days, he came, and I was so grateful for his help. But then he started talking to my friend, being like, this is how you take care of her. She needs to be taken care of like this. She can't do this on her own. She's not that clean. She doesn't cook that much. She doesn't blah, blah, blah. And I was literally like, you know, you took it upon yourself to keep calling yourself my mother and all that stuff. And you called me your daughter. Like, you did all of that yourself. And it was so weird. He had this big complex that he wanted to have over me. Like, him and his cousins, man, they wanted to have this big power complex over people. It's gross. So I move into like the student house. I think by this time it's like June 2020. Yeah, something like that. It's like June 2020. Fix that lighting. Yeah, it's like June 2020. And then oh, now it's a little too dark. That's okay. It's June 2020. I'm settling in well, blah, blah, blah. you know, the house I lived at had 7 other people in it. And we didn't have like a shared space. Like, it was just strictly rooms. The only shared space we had was like this really small dining area, because we kind of had like, we had 2 floors of the kitchen, and yeah, so like the kitchen would kind of be like our dining area, but my room was outside the house, but like attached to the kitchen. Like, it had a separate door and everything. It was really cool. I enjoyed that. But the thing is, I was going through like a time where I was letting go of everyone. But that wasn't the case for like the university people. And, you know, I really didn't mind that they wanted to like have their friends over, you know, especially during COVID and all that stuff. And because like, same, but like, but they would like have people over a lot, and it was just kind of like too much and annoying to have to go through people to go to the washroom. And I just wasn't down to drink like that all the time, because it was just during a transition of mine. And I spent like my quarantine there, my COVID there. Like, it was a good place for me to finally go into introspection. It was the place where I started my transformation. Not like I really had a choice because I was quarantining, but I was really grateful for that place, because, you know, like it gave me a really good like sense of the city for the first time, because the walks I went on helped me explore, see the city. I know this sounds like thing, but it had a backyard, and I haven't experienced the backyard in a minute, so it was just nice to be in, and I appreciated the space a lot. However, because there was just too many people there, and, you know, they were basically all girls, there's probably one guy there, and so it was just bound to happen. We were just not seeing eye to eye a lot of things. And, you know, what really like stopped me from wanting to live there was the entitlement that a lot of the girls like that I lived with like felt. Like, these girls would be going home, right? Home to like wherever they lived, and for like, we wouldn't even know how long. And there was, I think, 5 cars, but the driveway only fit 3 cars. And so we understood that the girls who lived there the year previous already settled an agreement with the landlord that they're gonna occupy that parking space for sure. Like, they were gonna have it, because the previous years they didn't have it. So I understood that. I got that. But the thing is, they would go home. We would not know how long they would be gone for. And then when they would come for maybe one night, maybe a couple hours, they would be like, you guys are in our parking spot. And I'm like, are you staying the night? And they're like, no. And I'm like, so what does it matter? Park on the street. That's where we park. The fuck? And then, yeah, and then they would just be so annoying about it. Like, I was like, I don't understand your entitlement. Like, you're not even gonna be here for more than a day. And then it just got so annoying that like my friend and I, we just like looked at each other at one point, and we're like, we signed another year in May, because we were like, okay, we're gonna save up, and then we're gonna move out together, like, one more year. And then, because like the first year that I was like there, I was just starting to like rebalance myself financially, so, you know, I wanted more time. And then we signed a lease, an extra year in May, but then we had a huge falling out with 2 of the girls. They're the parking spot girls. And like, I was literally like, I'm not dealing with this anymore, because along with just like the parking spot and just a lot of things, like there was just so much entitlement from them. And I was just like, it's so hard being around you, like living with you. Like, even if I don't see you as often, your presence is like, it's so negative and so me. Like, I was like, man. Anyways, yeah, because they would just be like, you want us to park on the street? What about our cars? I was like, what about our cars? Oh my God, the entitlement. But anyways, so after getting to a huge thing, we were like to Orlando, we were like, we're gonna move out, blah blah. He wasn't happy with it at first because like, first of all, we just signed the lease, and then it was like only a couple weeks after that we tried to retract it, but we were able to. And then we were even able to find like a place right away too. It was actually really sweet. It was really sweet to be able to find a place right away. Yeah, we moved into an apartment. I went back into downtown, but this time not so centered downtown, just a different area of downtown. So I was like, oh yay, another area. So honestly, with all my moves, I was really grateful to experience like different areas of this city, because why not? So then we lived there, and at first it was really nice because going from a house to an apartment, what I liked was like no maintenance and how easy it is just to go to and from, basically. I know like houses are, okay, there's just a convenience about apartments. And yeah, so we lived there. How long did I last with her? So the thing is with her is she had, or has, I don't even know if they're still together or not, but there's this partner of hers that like I just didn't like, because she honestly made me not like him. How much she talked bad about him, I was like, yo, if you're gonna talk this much bad, where is the good that I can like him, you know? And because like, you know, that's all I heard, obviously I'm just gonna keep my stance about it. And then just with my experiences with him as well, like I just didn't care for this guy, you know? So then I told her, because she wanted to move out with me before, but while they were together, and I told her, I was like, no, because I just don't want to be around someone who drinks every night. I'm not about that again. I'm not about being around fucking a partying scene, no. And then so there was more to it, but yeah. So then when we moved out together, they weren't together, so that's why I was like, I'm down to be moving out with you. We moved in, and then it was really nice for the first month. I was like, oh, this is great. And then we started buying things for the apartment, started settling in. The first month was amazing, and it was starting to become summer, so the vibe was awesome. And it was during a time I was transitioning a lot, so I was like, this is a good space for it. But then her energy started getting so overwhelming for me in terms of negativity, because I started realizing how impacted I was getting based upon being around negativity, especially after the summer I had, like with my grandpa's funeral and like my abortion and everything. Like I just really didn't want to fucking deal with anyone else in terms of like having to take care of anyone else. And with her, she came home every night from work just shit talking like people, her work, and it was every night. And literally I was like, I had to tell her, I was like, stop doing that. Process your stuff in your room before you talk to me. Like, I think I became so dependent on weed because I just couldn't handle her energy. Like, I was high almost all day, every day. And the only way to tolerate it was just to be high. And like, all these talks was not enough. And then eventually she started like getting back with that partner, and I was like, at first I was just like, maybe he changed, sure, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. And then it started becoming like this back and forth shit again, and I was like, I saw you do that for 2 years, and I lived with you for 1 year watching you do that. I don't want to be around it. Understand this. And no matter how many talks I've had, I was like, you know what? I'm not trying to control your life. I'm seriously not even trying to control who you date. I'm not like that. But I told you, this is the only reason I would not live with you. And you're bringing him right into my space. And I was like, oh. Okay, I was like, you know what? I'm done with people disrespecting my boundaries. I'm done. So I started getting close with my other friend, and then he was like, let's move out. And so I really looked at her and I was like, I'm gonna cut our lease because, I'm just gonna finish that. I'm gonna cut our lease because, first of all, it's dangerous to live here in this apartment. Second of all, I just don't want to live with you anymore. And so the apartment itself, like after that month, flies started coming out of the vents, mice, and then I started seeing cockroaches near the end, and I was like, oh, I'm not dealing with cockroaches anymore. And then what else? The elevators were always shut off. We lived on the 9th floor. There was 17 floors. Elevators, waters were constantly shut off, and sometimes when the waters would be turned back on, I would open the tap and like it wouldn't be clear, like. And then what else? I think I mentioned this before, but literally on our floor down the hallway there was a pipe rupture and it dropped down 3 units, and like the apartment didn't even tell us, like. And then when I included it in part of like the reason why we're leaving, they didn't even say anything. At first they even tried to fight it. They were like, yeah, but you signed a lease. And I was like, yeah, I didn't sign a lease to like be in harmful conditions like this without accountability. So miss me with that. They were annoying to get through, but they had so many people leaving the same time we were that it was annoying, but it was still a fast process. And I'm gonna say, throughout my transformation since I've moved here, I know that every time I've moved, I've gained a sense of self, a sense of like worthiness, a sense of independence, confidence, all of that goodness I gained every time I had to move. And every move, it was very taxing for me because I was like, oh, again, when am I ever gonna settle? And it's just up. So then I did briefly talk about the process of this move in my old video, but basically like my friend and I and then my ex all moved in together, but he wasn't my ex at the time, but we all moved in together. And this time I went back to a house, and this house is definitely the nicest place I've stayed in since I moved here. I'm so grateful for this space. This neighborhood is very, very nice and quiet. The backyard's beautiful. The landlord's okay. I don't talk about that. But however, like as much as this space, I am really grateful too because this space helped me grow. Like it gave me the space to just like really get into my spirituality, that's for sure. Each house you stay at has like your addresses has like a code, and it gives an energy about the place you're staying in and like what it will do for you. And I didn't search up all the other places because I kind of forgot, but when I searched up this place, I was like, oh, that's really beautiful. It was talking about something how like it will help with like transformation, and how this house is not really a hosting house, and I haven't really hosted much here unintentionally. Like I definitely have, but yeah. So my only thing obviously with this place is the fact that I live with my ex, is the fact that I live with a friend that's not my friend anymore. So yeah, I can definitely say I'm ready to live alone. At first I was hesitant, obviously finances, whatever, but second, like at first I was scared of like haunted stuff and ghosties, but now I like work with it. So now I work with the shadow stuff, so it doesn't scare me anymore. But yeah, I'm definitely ready to live alone. Oh my gosh. I put my sense of value with everyone who offered help to me. With every house that I've been at, I put value to over myself until I came to this house. And like, oh my god, see me. I just wanna have my dog, have my cat, have my space, and that is all. That is all I want. Because home is where my heart is. Home is wherever I'm at in my own space, because I really brought myself to a place where no matter where I'm at, what I'm doing, the security I found within myself will always make me feel like whatever I go through, I'm gonna go through it well. Because these experiences have definitely shaped me, have strengthened me, and like it formed another foundation of why I'm so resilient, to be honest. It's because I can always just bounce back. I'm very, very prideful in my bounce back game, to be honest. I really am. Really surrounded myself with people who are like, let me help you, I can help you, like, let me do this for you, without truly knowing how to read other people's intentions and characters. But now that's never gonna happen. Yeah. I really learned. And I'm truly grateful for my experiences. I wish everyone that I've lived with well. Like, I don't talk to any of them still, and it's gonna stay that way. It's gonna stay that way. Yeah, the power they wanted to have over me, everyone that I lived with, the power they wanted to have over me was insane. And this is coming from like a place where I haven't felt secure in like my home life. And like this has been so triggering for me, just because when I finally ventured out on my own like this, the instability of finding a place and settling was just such an experience, and just such like that it really rocked me to my final like spirituality transformation in codependency, for sure. And like learning how to get out of codependency would be really hard in itself, but because of like my fast experiences, like I can see why like I am the way I am this fast. You know, like growing up, I didn't have stability, like where I would stay. And it's not to say like we were bouncing home to home, it wasn't like that, but who I was under watch of, like that's why my environment was different all the time, because it was just new like that. And like I would stay with my dad 5 days a week, go to my grandparents' house during the weekend, and it was like that for me till I was in high school. And you know, they were good spaces for both. However, they were like inconsistent spaces for me. Like in terms of like emotional availability for each space, like that really rocked my foundation for living spaces. So I tried to find security within the people I lived with. And when I found that they couldn't provide that, it was very triggering for me every time. Because every time I had hope, because each person that gave me hope gave me more hope than the last. And that's where I always fell short, because in that hope, I gave them my power when I should have just had hope for myself. That I was able to just fully help myself no matter what. But I'm really glad that I went through this, because now I really know I can do this. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching a much more lighthearted video. Much more lighthearted video. Any questions, feel free to ask. But if you're living under any narcissistic people who want to control how you're living, how you're doing anything, get out. Like, I would rather be sleeping on a couch of someone who truly loved and supported me than to have my own room in a house full of people who couldn't offer that. So, sending you strength, sending you well wishes if you're going through anything like this. Thank you again for watching.